My marriage was messy almost from the beginning because we both came from, like I said, alcoholic parent, physical and sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And then we found Jesus and we figured we just gonna make it work. What I did not know about my husband was that at about 10 years old, he had been exposed to porn and had had this on again, off again battle with what he did not call an addiction, but really was an addiction to porn. So at some point in the marriage, I noticed he would do things like go to the grocery store and be there too long for the amount of stuff he bought, you know. And I'd be like, what are you doing? Oh, I was reading the music magazines, or I was, I just got caught up doing things. And I can recall we had maybe one conversation about pornography early in the marriage. And he talked about how he would watch it or look at it and threw it away, but he said that was a long time ago. So he wasn't honest about this ongoing problem. So flash forward, we'd been married 20 years, 21 years. And because my husband works in the industry where he travels a lot, he's away a lot, you can be doing anything, really. And since there weren't any rumors coming back to me that there was some girl here or anything like that, I never suspected that he'd ever done anything like be unfaithful or,
Right.
I certainly felt it was possible, but there'd just never been any whispers or anybody coming to me. In fact, it was just the opposite. When I'd go to the set, everybody talked about what a great guy Terry is, and he loves you so much. He talks about you all the time. And these little girls be trying to look at him, and he don't pay them no mind. And I heard stories like that night and day. So I just thought, okay, praise the Lord. Well, you better. But we went through this season that I call, the valley of the shadow of death. And God, really what precipitated it was God started to speak to me and had me getting up in the morning to pray, which I did not like. I'm a night owl. And God's like, I want you to meet me at 5 a.m. every morning. And I was like, why? And I was like, okay, whatever. So it took me probably a week to be obedient. So I'm down in the living room, 5 in the morning, no sun. And I'm like, what? Cannot wait until 7 a.m., Lord. Like, really, this is terrible, but that's really how I felt. He said, you're about to go through it. And I was like, what? He said, you're about to go through the valley of the shadow of death. And I said, what's the matter with me, Lord? Am I sick? Am I dying? He said, no, but you'll wish you had. I said, what, Lord? And he began to download into my heart these little things that, similar to what you just shared, didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Little comments that were made.
Yeah.
Who is this person in the phone? Or, just little inconsistencies that maybe I didn't want to see. But because there wasn't like hard proof, there wasn't like some woman calling me like, I'm with your man or something silly,
Yeah,
something like a
right.
soap opera.
Right.
I began to challenge my husband, and he was away on location. And we had a fight one night, and God just started bringing all this stuff up, like, ask him this, ask him this, ask him this. And suddenly my husband was like, well, why are you asking me? And and he's very defensive. And I finally said to him, and I'm screaming, this was so odd because as a Christian, I always thought it was a sin to be angry. So I was never allowing myself to be fully emotional in my marriage. If I was really angry, I would squash it, But I was yelling at him at the top of my lungs, like this wrath came over me. And I said, what don't I know about you? And he just spit out that he had been addicted to porn. He'd gone to strip clubs, and he had been unfaithful. And God said to me, kick him out. And I said, okay. I said, we're done. And he started to cry. And he's like, Becky, I told you everything. And I said, yeah, that's good. And now get ready to see your kids on the weekend, because I'm done. Because I told you if you ever stepped outside that I would never forgive you, that I would never tolerate it. And I hung up. And then I fell on the floor like, Jesus.
Yes.
I said, I've been married 20 years. I have 5 kids. I haven't worked in 10 years. And God just said to me, I will take care of you like I did before you had a husband. And I was wearing this little white robe. And I said I was like Lazarus in the grave for 3 days. I did not come out of that robe.
Yeah.
I don't know how my children ate. I don't know how they coped, because I don't remember anything but just crying and crying and crying. And as we got through maybe a week into that process, the Lord started to speak to me that I should be open to forgiving him. And I said, but God, you're the one that told me to kick him out. And he said, Rebecca, I'm going to give you a new man, but he'll be the old one reborn. And I said, how can you promise me that? He said, just watch. And I started to hear these songs about healing and restoration in my heart. And even this old Natalie Cole song, I told this story. There's this old song she used to sing, I'm keeping a light shining in the window in case he decides to come home. And finally, one day, God said, pick up the phone and call him. And I was like, I don't want to call him. He said, call him. And I felt like the Lord snatched me, like, now, be obedient. You are obedient to everything I told you to do up to now. Do what I'm telling you. I need you to take off the wife hat and put on the minister hat. Because I'd been in ministry for like 20 years already at this point. Lay ministry, you know, serving and praying for people and listening to their problems. And God said, now what would you say if this was somebody else's husband? What would you say if this was your girlfriend and her husband and he was sorry? What would you say? I was like, dang it. I call my husband and he's crying on the phone. He said, I can't believe you called me. And I said, God told me to call you.
Hi everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload. Thanks for being a part of our Better Together community.